Guys, you are here. So, we're talking about beer. It's mean about the London beer flood. This history, incredible history. History, I know, is full of unexpected disasters, but few are so strange and shocking as the London beer flood of 814. What started as an ordinary day in the city quickly turned into a chaos when an industrial accident and an enormous wave of beer rushing through the street. While industrial accidents were not uncommon on the 19th century, this particular disaster stood out not only for its bizarre nature but for the tragic consequence it brought. Buildings collapsed, people were swept away, and the overpowering stench of beer lingered in the city for months. Also, the event has often been remembered with as an air of dark humor. The reality for this affected was far from amusing. Intrigued, we discovering. In October 17, on 1814, a catastrophic accident at the Horse Show Brewery sent a wave of beer flooding through London streets. The disaster, later called the London Beer Flood, caused significant destruction and tragically claimed several lives. During the 18th century and 19th century, breweries, breweries were thriving in London and contributing significantly to the economy. The Horse Show Brewery was one of many expanding businesses that sought to produce beer at enormous scale to meet increasing demand. The brewery was first established simply as the Horse Show in 623. By 100 years after, it became the Horse Show Brewery under Thomas Fawcett. Ownership changed multiple times, and it grew into one of the London's most prominent beer producers before being snapped up by Henry Mux. Sir Henry Mux, born in 1717, was from a brewing family. After a disagreement with his father, he left their business and took over the Show Brewery. Under his leadership, the business expanded and became one of the London's six largest beer producers. The brewery contained enormous wooden vats reinforced by metal hoops. One vat built in 795 could hold 2,000 barrels of beer, which is equal to about almost 900,000 euro gallons, almost 3.3 million liters. The beer vats located at the brewery were incredibly tall, towering up to 6.7 meters, almost 7 meters. I thought they were certainly impressive. They were vulnerable to pressure buildup, which could cause structural failure and lead to catastrophic consequences. Hours before the disaster, a clerk at the brewery named George Creek noticed that a metal hoop had slipped off on the vats. Their hoops, weighing around 320 kilo each, were critical to the vat's integrity, but the supervisor dismissed the concern, claiming that no harm would occur. Within an hour after the warning was ignored, That weekend, the vat exploded violently and released its contents into the brewery. The force of the rupture triggered a domino effect, breaking additional vats open. The powerful sugar of beer shattered the brewery's rear wall, which stood almost 8 meters high and was 50 centimeters thick. Some bricks were propelled into the air, crashing down onto roofed tubes along nearby Great Russell Street, causing further destruction. A tidal wave of beer reaching a height of 5 meters poured out of brewery, demolishing two houses and several damaging two more. The sheer force of the liquid left residents with no time to react, as buildings collapsed under the unexpected and deadly flood. The force of the flood caused several structural damage to nearby buildings. One of the first casualties was Eleanor Cooper, a 14 years old servant girl who was struck by falling bricks from a collapsing wall. She was killed instantly. She doesn't have a time to understand what's going on. The disaster took the lives of 8 people, including Mary Mulvey, aged 30, and her 3 years old son Thomas, along with other children of a similar age. Others, like Anne Saville, 16 age, 60 age, were unable to escape the surge in time. 4-year-old Hannah Bernville was having tea with her mother and another child when the flood hit. Her mother and another child were swept into the street, but Hannah was trapped inside the house and tragically lost her life. Although everyone inside the brewery survived, 3 workers had to be rescued from the rubble. The superintendent and 1 worker were taken to the Middlesex Hospital, along with 3 others suffering from injuries caused by the catastrophic structural collapse. Behind the tragic loss of life, the flood left London streets drenched in beer. The overwhelming stench of stale has lingered for months and made the area unbearable for residents. Even long after the cleanup, the smell of beer remained. In the aftermath, curious onlookers flocked to see the destroyed vats and flood-damaged street. Some spectators even paid to witness the devastation firsthand, turning the deadly event into a grim spectacle for a public entertainment. For a brief time, parts of London resembled a bizarre river of beer, with nowhere to drain. The liquid pooled in low-lying areas, submerging streets and buildings. People waded through the waist-deep beer, struggling to recover belongings and search for survivors. After the disaster, rumors spread of crowd collecting the spilled beer, leading to mass drunkenness. Some claim the person died from alcohol poisoning a few days later, after consuming excessive amounts from the flood. These stories have never been substantiated. The disaster could have led to criminal charges, but authorities ruled in act of God, which means no one was held accountable. This legal decision spared the brewery from liability and left the victim's family without any form of compensation. Although the brewery was responsible for the flood, it was guaranteed financial relief. British Parliament waived its taxes and provided an 7,200 sterling payout to ensure that the company did not suffer financially. When adjusted for inflation, this equates to around almost 632,000 dollars today. Despite surviving the immediate financial strain of the beer flood, the Horse Show Brewery did not last forever. It eventually shut down in 1921 when production was moved to the Nine Elms Brewery in the south of London. At the time this brewery was closed, the site covered 1,000 square feet. Just a year after enclosure, the entire brewery was demolished and the Dominion Theatre was later constructed. The London beer flood served as a wake-up call regarding the danger of wooden beer vats. Over time, breweries switched to safe alternatives, using stainless steel, concrete, glass, ceramic, and plastic to prevent similar catastrophic failures in the future. Fermenting beer produces carbon dioxide, which builds pressure inside the vats. If the structural integrity of vats is compromised, it was in this case, the trapped gas can cause an explosion and turn a minor issue in a full-scale disaster. Today, breweries follow strictly safety regulation to prevent similar accidents. Modern brewing tanks are designed with pressure release system to ensure that fermentation does not create a dangerous condition like that learned in the London beer flood. Um, the London beer flood wasn't only an unusual disaster of its kind. In 919, the city of Boston saw the deaths of 21 people and the injuries of 1,050 more when a 7 meters wave of molasses was released in the city north end. Another incident in 878 saw a flour mill explode in Minneapolis. Science flour is extremely flammable. A small spark at the mill created an explosion in one of the machines, while the resulting blaze continued destroying the facility. 18 lives were ultimately claimed. Today, the London beer flood can be seen as a reminder of the dangers of industrial negligence and the human cost of, of preventable disaster. To the brewery is gone, its tragic flood remains an unforgettable part of London history. I hope you like it. Sometimes it's happening. Be careful, guys.